In this section, the things that you're going to need to be able to do are calculating a 5-number summary of a data set and finding the z-score of a particular data item. So we'll start with an example of finding the 5-number summary. So I have a data set, and what I'm going to do is enter that data set into a list. So if I come over to the stat key, and the first item that shows up is edit, that will take me into the list editor. I already have some things in my list, so I'm just going to highlight the name L1, press clear and enter, and be careful not to press delete, otherwise it will just remove the list from the list editor, but you can always get it back if you press the stat key and go down to setup editor. Okay, I'm not going to worry about L2 because I only need to use one list in this case. So I'll start entering this data into L1. So 44, 57, 25, 41, 72, 42, 19, 49, 37, 49, 63, 36, 18, 41, and 46. Okay, now you should always double check your data to make sure you've typed it in properly. I'm just going to assume that I've done it here correctly because this is just a hypothetical data set anyway. If I did make a mistake, forgive me. So, the 5-number summary. In order to do that, we'll quit out of the list editor and press the stat key again. But this time we'll come over to the calc submenu because we want to do some calculations based off of our data. So var stats, that also is the place where we would get the values of the 5-number summary, and we just want to make sure we tell it where the data is. That's the list, the original list of data. But be careful, we don't have any frequencies in this case, so you want to make sure to clear out that value there. If I hadn't, the stuff in L2 would actually lead to an error on the calculator because the lists, these two lists aren't the same length. So if I press calculate now, I get the output from var stats, and I don't see everything for the 5-number summary on the initial screen, but if you press the down arrow, it'll take you to the rest of the values necessary for the 5-number summary, which are the minimum value, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. Okay, now let's clear that out, and next I'm going to show you about coming up with a z-score. So I'll just come up with a random data item and a random mean and standard deviation. So let's say we have a data value of 57, and we have a data set with possibly a mean of 48 and a standard deviation of 3.5. Okay, now the thing you have to be careful of when it comes to this z-score formula, this long division bar, the one that goes underneath the x and the mu, it inherently means that around that numerator there are parentheses. So the thing is, with order of operations, if I press enter in this case, it's going to do 48 divided by 3.5 first, because division is seen as something that happens before addition or subtraction. And then it's going to subtract that result from 57, giving me a much different answer than what I expect. So what I need to do instead is either put parentheses around the numerator, so 57 minus 48 in parentheses, and then divide by 3.5, and that will give me a z-score. So that's the correct z-score in this case, 2.57. Or another option is to do your subtraction first. Okay, and once you get that answer, if you just press divide, it'll say ants divide, and that means take the last answer divided by whatever next value you type in. And that will get you the correct answer as well. So just be careful with those parentheses. That's often one of the mistakes that students will make there.